Okay, so I was just painting outside, and hold on, let me turn the music off. And there's a gentleman that walked by me. I was painting, right? You know, I got my peace and quiet and everything like that. And when I get into the zone, it seems like people want to come up and approach me or talk to me, and I understand, right? It's like the whole idea of repel and attract. So I get into the zone, and I have this guy pass by me, and I look up. I see his son there, and nothing to do with race, but his son's Asian, right? And then I look at him, and I was just like, the way he looked at me, and he bounced the ball like really hard, bounced it down. And I was like, okay. And then I was thinking, where's that hate coming from? Like, just, just sitting here doing my painting. So, yeah. And then I was thinking about the adoption agency again, because I made a video about the whole idea of adopting. And I was also getting other things too earlier, 2 days ago, where it was like, I can only imagine, because I think there's stories or something like that in the Bible, or I don't know about putting, is it religious stories where she puts a baby in a basket and, or whatever, putting, down the waterway or whatever? And then how people nowadays, they leave them on doorsteps for churches or fire department stations or police stations or somewhere, maybe even a school or something like that, if they don't bring them to like an adoption agency. And then I was thinking how difficult it must be to give your child up, right? But this specific guy, just the way he looked at me, and it might not even be the case. Maybe the child's not adopted. I don't know. But the vibe I got off him was not pleasant. And so I was thinking to myself, so maybe, the amount of corruption that goes on everywhere else, the amount of information I was getting, it's quite possible that there are certain individuals, corrupt people in the system that purposefully adopt children from different countries, knowing their bloodline, knowing their potential, knowing their gifts even, knowing that they may have some lineage in something bigger than, let's say, their own lives or something like that. And they want access to that, or they want control over that, or they want to be able to dip into that somehow. And I can mean this in many different ways. I'm just simplifying it right now as I'm speaking. But yeah, so they do this purposefully. And the whole idea of the adoption system has kind of been, most of it's been corrupted in the sense that if it comes to other countries, battling out other countries, and they're trying to get control or anything like that, and there's maybe specific children that are born to royalty or born to some sort of lineage, blood related, like DNA, and it's never recorded because let's say it's with a mistress or something like that. You know what I'm talking about. But they get a hold of this information, and they snatch them up right away from the adoption system, and they put them through all sorts of trauma and stuff like that. And like, not to mention the whole idea of being abandoned to begin with is traumatizing enough, but they put them through this whole adoption system. And then those corrupt individuals that are adopting these children for specific agendas, especially when it comes to political stuff like that, like, I'm not even going to get started on why they would do that, but adopting specific children from specific countries to obtain and get a hold of whatever they may have the rights to, or they may have the bloodline to, or they may have access to, or even energetically or spiritually what their background would be. And they know full well, but the child doesn't. Maybe not right off the bat, maybe not at all, but they're being used. It's quite possible. And then there's other children too that may not have blood ties to specific ones, but they're still used as well. The whole idea of using children, like my own personal experience with my brother and I, we were like used as pawns in a sense when it came to the battle between my mother and father, my biological father. But the whole idea of using children in a adoption agency system, whatever you want to call it, and using them as pawns, and this whole idea of political schemes and corruption and gaining access to certain things that they normally wouldn't through these children, and using them specifically to target other people, or even training them to do certain things for different countries. And this is a spot with nobody here, and I have somebody driving up right behind me, so I can't even back up. Okay, anyways, doing specific things like that and using the children as like a chess piece, which is, it's really messed up. But yeah, I was getting that. And then I had another lady drive up right in front of me, and it was a cop car as I was painting, and I was like, oh, this is good, right? And then after the cop car, I had been there for a while, she went over with her family or whoever she was with, and I was like, okay, like, I almost felt comfortable. Another gentleman stops by, and he looks at me because I get back in the zone, I'm painting, and he shouts out a comment, and he's like, you seem to got yourself a nice spot there, huh? And I looked up, and then I looked at him, and I was like, I'm going to assume he means with a cop car. I don't know. Or maybe it's just the situation. Like, I'm at a picnic bench. There's tons of them in the park. I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, they set it up nicely for me. And he's like, what? I said, they set it up nicely for me. And he's like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, that was awkward. It was weird, but I'm just like, the shit I pick up on, it's intense. And I just want to paint. So I packed all my stuff up. I was like, I'm going to have to go somewhere. And then I was driving along the road here, and I seen one of those eagles, turkey vultures or whatever. And there's a perfect spot here, which I'm going to sit at. It's got one picnic bench. That's it. One picnic bench. And I'm going to sit here and hopefully nobody disturbs me, because I would like to paint in peace. I would like to do my thing without being energetically harassed.